Hi, I'm trying out Manor Lords today. This is a game still in early access made by Slavic Magic, which, even though it's a Polish company, the art style in the game and the architecture of the buildings are inspired by a region in Germany called Franconia, but you'll be able to see that throughout this video. Even though the game is still in early access, I've played it for 2 hours and I've barely even scratched the surface of everything I could have done in it. There are still a lot of features that I haven't been able to play with because I just didn't advance that far. The first thing you do when you start the game is you create a character. You have a very limited option of people you can choose between, and then you can customize a coat of arms of sorts. After creating your character and a coat of arms, you choose the map setting or scenario setting and the game settings in general. For this review, I decided to go with a relaxed gameplay without any bandits. Right off the bat, when you start the game, you start off with something called a homeless camp, and your supplies are out in the open. So the first thing you need to do is build some houses for the people and a storage place for all of your supplies. Otherwise, they're going to go bad. You'll see here that the first thing I did is I built a bunch of roads on which to build the village on. The tutorial, I would argue, is quite well made. It immediately tells you everything you need to do to start off the game, like building houses for people, and it gives you constant reminders of things that you are missing, or if things are going to go bad if you do not take care of them immediately. So it really holds your hand, especially at the beginning of the game. Here you can see me checking out all of the NPCs in the game and reading their very, let's say, interesting names. I think they're all German inspired. When you start off the game, you don't really have anything. The goal is to start off building a small village that you will expand into a small city, and then from that small city, you can exert your control over the neighboring areas as well. And the more control you have, the more power you have, the more richer you are, and that's kind of the end goal of the game. In terms of buildings, you can construct quite a few. You can construct roads, you can construct buildings for all sorts of stuff, such as living, or you can construct temples like churches. You can also construct buildings for storage, for animal husbandry, for farming. So it's your typical, let's say, village builder menu. The village building part of the game really reminds me of City Skylines or SimCity. They're very similar, and they even offer certain similar information. Like, for example, when you build a farm, it even shows you which ground is more fertile for the best crops. Here I'm using a road to kind of corner off a part of the map to kind of create like a rough boundary of where I want my village to be. Then, similar to how zoning works in SimCity or City Skylines, here I'm zoning off a small region to build a bunch of houses. And based on how big the zone is, you can fit a certain number of houses. If the zone area is long enough, you can later upgrade the house to have a place where you can raise animals. After building some houses, I decided to build up some buildings for resource extraction, such as wood. I love how you can zoom in quite close to your villagers when they're doing stuff. There's also an option to go first person mode, and you can walk around through the village as your character that you created at the beginning of the game. Here you can see as I'm trying to build a farm, the game is telling me which areas are more fertile and which areas are less fertile. Which, like I said, it's quite similar to how SimCity and City Skylines do it. I also love how zoned out areas follow the road they're built next to. You can see here how it curves with the road that it's near. This is me building out zoning out the farm. Here you can see me walk around in first person mode through the village I've just built and just admiring the environment and the houses and everything else. This is where I decided to expand my village a bit more by building a bunch of different buildings that will take the raw materials that you collect, and then it will turn them into other materials you can use later in the game for building other things or for expanding buildings that you've already built and upgrading them. Here you can see me try to build a market. The market is quite important in this game, as the market kind of decides which households gets the best items, the best resources, let's say, that are available. Here I'm raising the construction priority on the wooden church to make sure that it builds first before anything else, as the church is quite important in this game, of course, being a medieval village. Here you can see the beginning of winter, as there are seasons in this game, and of course the seasons will also affect the farming, so you need to make sure that you've got that you've gotten all the farming done in the proper time, otherwise your villagers are going to starve. Of course, there are other food sources in the game, but farming is probably the best one. And you can also use farming to get things like flax seeds, I believe it's called, or flax, which you can use to make clothing out of. I forgot to mention that there is a tech tree in the game. Now, I've barely used this in the 2 hours that I have played. I think I unlocked like one or two technologies, but the technologies that you need to unlock are needed for building certain buildings in the future. I do genuinely recommend this game, even though it's early access. I've played it for like 2 hours and I've barely even scratched the surface of what the game has to offer so far. Like I said, I barely touched the tech tree, and I've only upgraded like two buildings, I think. One of them being the church, as you can see right now. Honestly, I'm not even sure if I finished the tutorial in the game. But like I said, I've still done a lot in 2 hours. In any event, please check out the game and thank you so much for watching.